mode.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Displaying Your Research, Creating Graphs, and Working with Numbers in MS Excel. My name is Jesse Laris, and I've been an instructor with Argosy University Online since 2009 and a librarian with Argosy University Twin Cities since 2001. Before we get started, I would like to make a few announcements. This webinar is being recorded, so I've placed everyone on mute. If you have a question, please feel free to ask it by using the chat function. This is what I call a mini webinar because it is approximately 15 minutes long. After the 15 minutes are over, I will allow 5 minutes for questions. If your question is not answered or if you have follow-up questions after the presentation, please feel free to reach me through the contact information listed on the screen. Also, if you have particular webinars that you would like to see the library conduct, please feel free to forward your request. As I mentioned earlier, this 15-minute webinar will cover the topic of creating graphs and working with numbers in MS Excel. And if you've listened to any of my presentations, either the one that preceded this one or any of the ones that were conducted in July, you'll know that one of the strains that I've been trying to pull through my different webinars is the idea of information literacy. And the idea of information literacy, or what information literacy is the ability to go out, locate, evaluate, and use information effectively. And there's 5 characteristics of an information literate person, and we're going to focus on the last 2 this evening, and that is to use that information for a specific purpose and also to understand the legal, economic, and social issues surrounding it. And what we're going to do this evening is I'll show you how to create a couple of charts and to move information into a PowerPoint presentation and into an Excel spreadsheet. Or excuse me, how to work with numbers in an Excel spreadsheet, how to move a figure into a paper, and how to move a chart into a PowerPoint presentation. But let's talk about why we even use Excel to begin with. Well, Excel is great for calculating information, numeric information. What we can do with it is put information, numbers into it, add formulas, and it calculates a lot of that information for us instead of having to do it by hand. We just talked about, one of the other things that we use Excel for is to create charts and graphs. So we can have that visual representation of our information. Also, we use Excel to solve problems, and that's part of what we do with statistics anyway. You conduct a study, or you use it for personal use, maybe for home finances. Maybe I don't know how many students do that. I know that we do that at my house. And then it's very easy to see how much, well, are we spending a lot of money on garbage? Is like 25% of our income, does it go to, paying the garbage man to take the garbage away, or is 30% of it used for my cell phone bill? Those are things that we can do with Excel. And you might be asked in some of your classes, if you're in the undergraduate programs, I think the psychology program might use this for some rudimentary statistical information. I know that when I took a quantitative course in my graduate coursework, the first 2 modules that we worked on were in Excel. So you can do a lot of statistical analysis in Excel. All right, so talking about some of the things that you can do within Excel, or what Excel is comprised of, we're going to talk about some of the formulas, some of the rudimentary formulas that you may or may not be aware of. But first I want to talk about the column and rows. The columns are the vertical slots here that go A, B, C, D, E, and then the rows are the ones that go across, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can locate a point in your PowerPoint in your Excel spreadsheet by lining up the alpha and the numeric information. So this would be B3, this would be C4, so on and so forth. Within those areas, you can add these formulas. So if you wanted to get a total, you could add, you could use the sum function, which will total a row of numbers. Or if you want to find the average or the median, you could do the same function. And then for the percentage, you just divide one of those cells from another. And I'll show you how to do that here. I'm going to jump into an Excel spreadsheet. So there are 2 ways to do this. I can either type everything in, so equal sign, SUM, and then parentheses, I'm looking at B2 all the way to B8. So B2, and then my colon, B8, and you can see the areas there have been highlighted. If I hit enter, it gives me my total. I can also go up into the upper right-hand corner here. You see it says auto sum. If I click on that, I think I have to go out and go back in. I can click on sum or auto sum, and it will add those numbers up once I hit enter. I can do the same thing for the average. So if I want to do average, I just hit enter, and it's already added there. So it's added all these numbers together and then divided them. Now, the median is a statistical term where it's looking for the number that's exactly in the middle. And if you looked over here, we didn't see it show up, but if you go to more function, you can type in the word median, hit enter, and it should come up to the top of your listing here. I click go. I'll click OK, excuse me, and then it's going to ask me what are the columns that I want to add together, and I'm going to choose C2 to C8. Hit enter. Oh, yeah, there we go. I wasn't in the right column. I apologize for that. There we go. This is the one we want to do. So we'll try that again. We're going to do median. Okay, and there we go. All right, so because 1, 2, 3, or 10, 20, 30, and then 8, 9, 10, and then right in the middle here is 60. So that's why it's used the median number here. One last thing that I want to show you is, let's see, I'm going to unhide this here. I didn't want to show you this just yet, but if you take your total of those numbers here, it'll give you a percentage. So let's do the equal sign, parentheses, and I'm going to use B7 for this number here, B7 divided by B9, and it gives me a percentage, and I'll do it here as well. B8 divided by B9. And then we can tell that we've got all that information correct. If we auto sum, it's 100%. All right, so those are some really simple formulas that you might incorporate maybe in a class or in your work at home. The other piece that I think is pretty cool with working with Excel is the ability to create charts and graphs. Now here's an example of an article that was written, The Necessity of Information Literacy Education in a Marketing Department, right? Within here, this is talking about kids at a university, essentially, or students at a university, excuse me. And so what I'm curious about here is that it says time students have used the sources of the library during the last year. And I'm really interested in these last two here. So I can see that e-journals, that students either never used them or were not aware of them. 74%, or almost 75% of the students that took this poll answered that they didn't even know what they were. And then the internet, about 40% of the 40% of the students didn't know any information on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out to this next slide here. What I've done is I've taken that information. I've got my e-journal information here. I've got the number. I've got internet information here. I've got the number of times they've used it over the past year. And if I put my my cursor up here and drag it across and go down and cover all that information, what I can do is go into the Insert button. And if I go into Column, what I'm going to do is create a column chart. I can go to just click on it, and it will populate that information for me. All right. And the one thing this doesn't have yet is a title. So if I wanted to change or add the title from up here, I could copy it. And if I highlight this, I go out to Layout, and then it says Chart Title. Right now, it's got the X on it, so there is no chart title. But if I put a above chart, this pops up here. And now I have a title for my chart. Now, if I wanted to add this to a document, first what I would do for PowerPoint, for APA, we want to remove, let's see, I need to format the chart. I want to remove, I believe it's the border color. I don't want any lines. All right, so my lines are now gone. And then if I'm putting it into a paper, what I need to do is change this from blue and red, because APA wants you to use only grays or shades of gray or darks. So I can change the fill here. I'm going to have solid fill. I'm not going to have blue. I'm going to change it to the darkest of the grays. And then for this one here, I'll go back in to format the data. Let's see, fill. I'm going to solid fill, but I'm going to choose like the lightest of the grays. So I get a good contrast here. Now all I have to do is copy this. And then I have created a mock-up paper that I've written. And you can see here, if you bring in a figure, you need to add this figure line here, which is explained in the APA style manual. I can, whoa dear, nope. Hold on, I didn't grab it like I should have. There we go. Let's see what happens. Copy, there we go. And now I can paste it in here. All right, and so it's going to be kind of funky at first, but what I need to do is change the layout so that I'll go with this one here, click OK, and I should, oh, let me try that again. Where's that one? There we go. So I can move it over here. I go and hit enter a couple times. Now that's pretty good. I'll probably make this a little smaller, but now you've seen how you can add that information into a paper that you might have written. You just have to have the figure information here, and then reference it at the bottom in your references section. What I'll do is I will send everybody a copy of this, and along with the presentation tonight, as far as a link to the YouTube video that I'm going to upload probably tomorrow morning, the presentation itself, and then the supporting documents that we're working with here as well. I will be sending those out in an email, so you'll all get that. All right. So the other thing that you can do when you're working with percentages, one of the best ways to describe those visually is with. I just want to move that over here so it's out of the way. Is with a pie chart. So I'm going to highlight. I'm going to do one for the e-journals here, and I'm going to insert a pie chart. And what it's done is just added all the information, so it's showing me that the majority of the students never use the e-journals. I can right-click on this data, and then I can add data labels, so it'll show me what is the percentage. And then once I've done that, if you're doing this in a PowerPoint presentation, color is probably okay. I don't think you have to worry so much about that because that's kind of what you're doing the presentation for. So I can actually add this to a page that I've already created, make it a little bigger, what have you, move it around if I wanted to. But now I've got an in-text, or in my PowerPoint presentation, I've just created a pie chart that gives a great example of how data is used. All right, so as far as resources are concerned, because we've only scratched the surface of what Excel can do, I hope that I've given you a couple of the more useful uses for it. But there is a virtual training course where they have lots of Excel tutorials. There's also this thing called lynda.com where they have a lot of the, and you might have seen this icon in some of your classes previously, that you can link on, and it gives you different, it's not only Excel, but it's got PowerPoint, I believe, and Word, and so on and so forth, where you can go in and watch a tutorial on how they do a specific, how they work through a specific function within the particular program. So, okay. So lastly, this is the last thing that we'll talk about tonight, and then I'll answer questions. Wrapping it all up, you can use PowerPoint to calculate data, to solve real-world problems, and to do those statistical analysis. Excel is great for creating visuals and charts, and I hope you guys were able to get a lot of that down. It will also work on, I had a student who requested me to do a step-by-step how I went through that, and I didn't have time to put that together. I didn't even think about it, but I'm going to be working on that in the near future, and I will just email that out to the same email list that I sent all this other information out. You can and you should always, when you do a graph like that, cite it in APA style. And then there are other resources for you to utilize out there that are very useful. All right, and so now it's into the question portion of the evening, and let's see if anyone has their hand up. Nope. Let's see if anybody's left a question for me here. All right. Well, I don't see any questions. Hopefully that was everybody understood, what was going on with that, and yeah, I'm not sure. If you do have questions, please feel free. I've got my contact information there. I've got your email, so I'll be emailing stuff out to you. If there's something in the near future that that you run into, some kind of wall or other issue, please feel free to contact me. I will get back to you. I'm a full-time librarian here, so I answer student questions and assist students on a regular basis. With that, I guess I will thank everybody for coming, and I wish you good luck with your research. Thanks again. Bye-bye.